Welcome to episode 3 of Rolling Sober. I am one of your hosts, James Bias.
I'm the other host, Wipeout Zach. Or Zach, Wipeout Zach if you're nasty.
Oh, I'm nasty.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not a host. I wish I was, but that's too many people. So.
Not necessarily. I don't know. You play your cards right. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Okay, listen. We're going to talk a little bit about coffee today. I made these fellas a delicious home brew, which was like a little Topo Chico situation.
We'll
weird. Get into it.
Yep.
We'll cut in some footage of me making it for them. And then Zach, what is this little gadget here called?
Yeah, this is a MiniPresso. I've been trying to do a traveling espresso situation, and I bought it on the internet. We'll get into it. I was really hyped on it, and I don't want to tease too much.
Right. Okay. So Rolling Sober is a podcast about sober people and people who do jiu-jitsu. Sometimes it's about both. Lucky today we have a gold star guest.
That's right.
A gold star guest is someone who is both sober and does jiu-jitsu. Seth was actually at the first ever meeting of Rolling Sober. He was at the meeting that I first got brave enough to say, hey, I'm starting something called Rolling Sober if you want to do jiu-jitsu and you're sober. And then he came and it was dope.
We should also shout out the rash guards came.
Okay, rash guards came. You can get them at rollingsoberbjj.com. They're $45. I need to start a code that allows you to buy one for somebody who's in recovery. I'll figure that out at some point.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll probably discount it at some point.
Yes.
All that kind of stuff.
There is a disclaimer though. You won't necessarily look this good in them.
That's a good point.
It does differ from person to person.
That's an excellent point. You have to have good shoulders.
Size up.
Okay. So where should we start? Should we start with the coffee?
I think so. So, yeah.
Let's start with yours. It was trash.
So I got, all right. Take it easy. We got dogs. Wakako is the brand. WACACO, which I think is probably...
down. Django, down.
Django, get out of here. We got dogs.
Yeah,
dogs
Django's fucking
people.
unchained, bro.
Django's wildly unchained in here.
Django is a boss beast. He's a delicious beast.
So this company, I don't want to throw them under the bus because we're going to give kind of a mixed review coming up here. But WACACO, Wakako is what I'm going to say. MiniPresso GR, don't know what the GR stands for. It's definitely not great. But
I think it could have been. I think that you just don't know what you're doing yet.
So I got this 2 days ago and came in Amazon. I know I try not to buy things on there, but I just wanted to give it a shot. It was cheap. $50 is what this set me back. And I basically... So the way it works, just to show people on camera here, is it's got it looks like a little thingy-mabob. You open it up, you put the coffee inside, like a regular French press or whatever. And then there's a little button here that's this piston that's supposed to really shoot. No, it's okay. I'm doing the other way. And it builds pressure, and then it's supposed to get a nice espresso.
Yeah.
Now, at home, I told these guys I did this properly with the right beans and everything, and I followed the instructions to the T. And I had myself a nice little cup of a single shot of espresso that was dark and had crema and was a real thing. And I started doing a jig in my kitchen because I'm like, this thing worked.
Yes.
It's real.
Yeah.
I was hyped about it. I brought it today to do show and tell on this very podcast so we could talk about this. And then I tried to make one prior to this, which we filmed, and it turned out
he was using my grinder on my grind settings, and then we used my scooper to just tamp the grounds into there. Yeah. And so we were kind of going on the fly here. We didn't have his setup. So he made what was a pretty crappy shot of espresso, but whatever. It was coffee. There was some caffeine involved, so that's cool. But ultimately needs a little bit of work. But
I dial it in.
But here's the thing: I'm actually optimistic about it. It seems like a really cool device, and I wouldn't mind having one. So I just wanted to shout out the people at Wakako. Wakako. There we go. That's fun. Yeah. We'll just, even if it's not that, that's what it should be for you guys.
Wakako,
just so you know,
this
Wakako.
Is a honest review. I'm sorry we didn't unbox, but yeah, this is what it looks like.
Okay. All right, on to mine.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have mine with me, but I was using an AeroPress with
the last of it.
That's the last of it. Look at that delicious color. Okay, and I'd like so what I did was I took my I have a Baratza Encore grinder, and I was a pretty fine ground, and I put the boiled water into the little. I have a pressure attenuator from Fellow that I attach to my AeroPress, and then I disturbulate the beans by spinning it, and then I spin it the other direction. press it over some ice, and then I put a little bit of soda water on top, and it makes for a delightful summer coffee beverage.
You kind of just you breezed right over the wild left turn in that coffee making experience. So me and Seth were sitting there watching you make all this. I'm like, attenuating, you're mixing it up, all good, great. Made a nice cup of coffee over ice. I was like, this looks great. It was great iced coffee. And then you reach down and grab a Topo Chico.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a unflavored Topo Chico, and pop that puppy open and pour it over it.
Well, you don't need the flavored Topo Chico. You can. I've actually used
you tried that?
Yeah, I've used lemon. I've used grapefruit, LaCroix. It works either way. It's iced. It's delicious. It's effervescent, and it's caffeinated.
I gotta say, when you poured it in, I was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah.
And then I had a sip of this bad boy, and I said, "You crazy son of a bitch, you did it."
Yeah.
And it actually works. It works not bad. It's not a bad drink. It's pretty refreshing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Coffee talk.
Here we are. Coffee talk over. We're fully caffeinated. We're jazzed. We're talking fast, and we're ready to welcome our second guest to the show, Mr. Seth Hale. Welcome to episode 3 of Rolling Sober. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Who was the first guest?
It was Dave G. Remember the breathwork guy?
I do.
Yeah, Dave G.
The
Breathwork
Godfather.
master.
The Godfather of Rolling Sober.
He's
the homie.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
So give us some stats. How long you been sober? How long you been doing jiu-jitsu?
So my sobriety date is April 5th, 2018. So just a little shy of 6.5 years.
Nice.
I just started doing jiu-jitsu like maybe 6-7 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been on and off just because of, work and schedules like that. But yeah, man, I just fell in love with it. It was like the first day. It was just like this glint in my eye. I was like, this is fucking sick.
Yeah.
Can I swear on the podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's fine. It's
Yeah, fucking sick, bro. Yeah, man, it's been awesome. I literally, scrambled into a meeting one day. This guy happened to be there, and yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's been good. I thought you guys were holding hands under the table there for a second.
No, we were both stroking Django, who came back for round 2 of strokes.
I thought that was really sweet for a second.
Yeah. We're a pretty tight pod here.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so 6 months of jiu-jitsu. I was there the day you got your first stripe.
Yeah, man. I just got my first stripe like last week.
That was awesome for me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you this, but I got a little misty-eyed.
Oh.
I do frequently, actually, when people get promoted because I know how good it feels. How did you feel? Did you feel like I still don't know any jiu-jitsu? Did you feel like, hell yeah, I've been in here 6 months?
So
what do you think?
When I got the stripe, I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to hold back tears too up there. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, man. And it was amazing. It was such a cool feeling. But I did go up to you. I don't know if you remember this, but right after I went up to you and I was like, hey man, I think they made a mistake. I don't think they were supposed to give me that. No, you're like, well, no, they were supposed to. I was like, dude, I'm fucking bad at this. And you're like, yeah.
You're still a white belt.
Yep. You're still bad, but that's how that works.
One stripe. You've been coming for a while. You could probably kick your ass on day 1.
Yeah. Probably.
You know what I mean?
Sure,
I do.
As the veteran white belt here, I'm gonna just put in my 2 cents real quick.
Let's hear it.
I remember feeling the exact same way when I got my first stripe of like, oh, I don't know anything yet. This is way too early. And then it continues to have that feeling. I think James talked about it this morning at our Rolling Sober, which we just came from. That you're getting your brown belt here soon, probably, and you feel not ready. And I think it's gonna be like that forever until you get your 5th degree black belt or whatever. You're always going to feel like not prepared for it, but it is a cool feeling getting it going like that. This is probably the only time I'm trying to milk this moment because this might be the only time on this podcast that I have someone who's like slightly lower ranked than me that I can act like an old man to. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look, you did start losing your hair, so you might be an old man for all I know. I have no idea.
Fully like turning the corner.
Fully embrace
it's
that.
happening. Yeah.
But here's the thing. You are going to continually be doing jiu-jitsu for longer, so there will be more and more people that you are outranking.
It really hit me today.
Yeah.
Because we had 3 it was awesome today. We had a great Rolling Sober, and we had 3 newcomers, I guess we can call them.
Yeah.
And newbies. We should think of a cooler name for them. Freshies. And they...
Fresh blood.
Were all loving it. And it was so fun to see like the way that you looked when I got my first stripe and the way when I did my first class, and you're like, hell yeah, this guy's going to do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And seeing these 2 guys who were coming in and like, oh, they're coming back, and they enjoyed themselves and they had a great time, and that feeling is so great. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna feel this forever now.
Yeah, man.
Do you remember the day that we met each other when we were getting on the plane to go to Florida?
Yeah.
And I was like, I had been day drinking.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh no.
I think so.
Do you remember that? And you were like, I was like too much. I was being too much. And you were like, you need to calm down. Like kind of under your breath, but you're like, you're already too much. And I was like, what?
Yeah. I was already kind of like weird big brother energy, even though I think, wait, who's older between us? We've talked about this a bunch.
I'm 35. I'll be 36 in November.
Okay, so I am a little older than you.
Yeah.
So I have big brother energy occasionally, even when before we got sober.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of that.
So we've seen each other at our worst.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get to drink together.
It's so funny. It's so fucked up, but I think about shit like that too. I'm like, bro, we would have got so fucked up.
Dude, you know what I'm
so much fun until it wasn't.
You know what I mostly think about? Like if I'm at like a sober men meetup or a secret Fight Club meeting, I look around and I go, oh God, I'm so glad I never met any of these people drunk. They would be such animals. You know what I mean? Just, oh God, it would be awful to see them in that state.
I have that feeling like I think like a 75-year-old Marine has, where you're like looking at someone, you like size them up and you're like, man, if we used to drink together, I'd drink on the table. You know what I mean? I have that feeling of like, or like I'll see people being really drunk because I still work in cruise ships and stuff. So I see drunk people all the time as a sober guy, and they're all like, yeah, like, oh Zach, it must have been cool. Like, you know, like they give me that thing of like, oh, I wish, you know, like I'm happy you're sober, bro, but like it would have been cool if we got to. And I was like, you couldn't even have handled me. You wouldn't have been able to know. I would have fucking ate you for breakfast.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, I feel like that's the thing too, because like, I mean, you're built like a fucking Mack truck, but we're both like short guys. We're not big dudes.
This is a Short King podcast that we're on right now.
I think, goddamn right it is. Shout out to Short Kings.
Yeah.
50% off for the 50% off.
Yeah, that's right.
No, man, there's just, I think it's so funny because it's like when I got sober, for instance, I weighed maybe 142 pounds soaking wet with all of my clothes on. And it was just so funny because it went from like, you know, I weighed like 175 now, but I still have that mentality of like, oh, I'm 140 pounds. Anyways, that being said, I'm digressing. That being said, it was so funny. I would drink these fucking 250-pound dudes under the table. And I don't know why, even as a sober dude, I'm still like, that's a point of pride for me. Yeah. Even though it shouldn't be, because I fucking sank my liver there for a bit.
Right. I was not actually able to hold my liquor that well. I would get drunk too fast, and I would frequently pass out somewhere. I'd wake up at like a stranger's house from a party, and I'd wake up and look around, and they'd be like, "Oh, he's awake." They'd be like talking about me having breakfast in the living room, and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, so I slept here, huh?" And they're like, "You sure did. You hungry?" You know,
that was my kind of. I think me and James were both like memento drunks. You know, like we'd wake up and be like, "Wait, what? Yeah. Why am I in Russia? Like, what's happening here?"
Damage control.
Yeah, just like having to pace things back together, and it happened quick with me too. Like, depending on what I was drinking, I'd always try to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Not to now. This sounds like War Storyville, but like it was a thing of like, if I drink vodka, maybe I won't black, and then I'd have like 4 shots of vodka, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
nope,
in another place. I'm like, oh, well,
nope, no, it wasn't that.
Yeah, so you guys were like blackout drinkers.
Oh yeah. Every time.
So that's so funny to me. So like I'm, what you would call like a high bottom. I mean, I started doing drugs when I was like 12. Yeah, and my whole thing, I was like, oh, as long as I don't do drugs again, I can drink. And that's totally fine. Yeah. So I told people, I was like, oh, I'm sober, even though I was getting fucking shit-faced every night. My whole thing is I had like everything down to like a science. So I didn't vomit a lot. I mean, every now and then I did, but like I didn't vomit much. I didn't black out, but I always just broke the cusp of being too fucked up every single time. But like, I mean, again, like this sounds fucking crazy. Like, again, it's the alcoholic in me. I'm like, dude, that sounds like so much fun waking up in like a bathtub, like clutching like a roll of Downy paper towels as a pillow. Like that sounds fucking sick.
No, it's terrible.
But like mine was like, dude, I would just get hammered. I'd get shit faced. I'd try to go to a bar. If I couldn't pick up a girl, I'd go home, jerk off, pass out, and call it a night. Wake up the next morning, do it again.
Wow, what a great, fulfilling life.
Yeah, right. Great, sounds amazing. Yeah.
On your gravestone, he went to lots of bars.
Yeah.
Just lots of solo sex.
Got casually drunk, didn't throw up, but jacked off.
Yeah, lots of solo sex.
Just dropping.
Me and this guy drinking like the world's gonna end every day. And I would boot and rally probably every time. Like I've told people this, but like when I was on cruise ships and at my drunkest, it was the same thing where I went to NA and stuff, and as a teenager, and I quit hard drugs pretty early on in my life. At first, and then I came back to them later. But like on ships from like the whole time Obama was president, I had like 6 or 7 drinks a night, and I would always throw up. Like I would throw up every night so I could keep drinking, which was like so fucking gross in hindsight thinking about it. That Like, I have no idea what my esophagus looks like. I think it's okay. But just like that kind of stuff is.
It probably didn't look good at the time.
No, it's not. But
yeah,
so I actually am pretty close with a few people who have stopped doing hard drugs and just like occasionally casually drink beer or smoke pot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work for them. You know, I don't know what their life is like when I'm not around, but it seems to work for them. But there are so many people who have been like, I'm just going to drink. I'm not doing hard drugs anymore. And if you're a real addict, I think that no matter what the substance is, if you're a real addict, not just someone who's like kind of going through a dark phase in their life where they're using a little too much, not a problem, user, but like a full blown addict. If you're an addict, I don't think that you can do that. I don't. And is it? And my question for people out there who are watching this, because I always want to like be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, because the thing that you're playing with is your life. You might like think, okay, well, I can drink. I'm gonna stop doing crack, but I can drink. But if you're a real addict, you'll drink too much, and you might end up killing yourself or somebody else. You might end up doing crack too.
No, see, what I was gonna say is like, for instance, like and. There are the special people. Like, I have a buddy of mine. He used to, shoot heroin all the time, and he just didn't want to one day. Like, he'd gone to rehab a bunch. It didn't work. And then one day he was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. And he stopped. And, he can smoke weed from time to time, and he just does it casually. He's been sober from like hard drugs for like, I don't know, 15 years now or whatever. And again, he smokes weed like once a week, once a month, whatever it is. But also, to the people, if you end up watching this, don't think that you're that fucking special, because you're not. You're not that unique. Like, I hate to tell you, but if you're watching this podcast, you're probably not that guy, my friend. You're probably like us, where it's like, I don't really like sucking dick, but if I drink enough beer, I might end up sucking a dick or two.
Yeah. I think
we can cut that if we want.
No, that's fine. We'll leave that in.
No,
I've never done that, but
yeah. I have. It's fine. I think when it comes down to it, is like the what is it? The exception doesn't negate the rule, right? People always find little things, ways to weasel out of whatever.
Well, especially if you're an addict, just if you're really hungry to find yourself the exception to that rule, you're probably an addict.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there trying to figure out how that rule doesn't apply to you, you're probably an addict.
The fact that we've like talked about drinking this much in this kind of way, and then after just explaining our deep caffeine, just smashing caffeine in a way that was so obsessive it was silly, that you'll see in the videos.
Yeah.
I'm pretty safe to say that the three guys wearing the Rolling Sober rash guards at this table are probably addicts.
We earned our seat at this table.
Yeah.
Let's ask a real quick question though. So tell me, like, you started using drugs when you were 12.
Yeah.
Which drugs were you using? How long did that go on for? When did you kind of like switch to alcohol? And how old were you when you got sober? Like full blown sober?
Full blown sober. It was like 3 weeks before my 22nd birthday.
Oh wow!
So I
awesome,
didn't even
dude.
have
I wish I would have got sober when I was 22.
Yeah,
I
didn't even have like a full year of drinking legally.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
damn,
you
that's
got
awesome.
your whole life ahead of you.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
That's so awesome.
So
how did you start using drugs? Like, how did that occur?
Yeah, so like when I was 12, ever since I was like a kid, I was always. I truly do think that there is a part of it that is just like you're born with a genetic disposition, whatever it is, whether it's like a brain malady or it's a spiritual malady for sure. There was something where I was just born with not wanting to feel like myself, and I really struggled with that like a lot.
And you became an actor?
Yeah, well, that's because I'm deeply insecure.
Aren't we all?
I'm not. I'm
Tell
fine.
me I'm pretty.
Great.
I feel great.
Feel great, bro.
Tell me I'm pretty.
You are pretty. Keep going.
Okay, no, you keep going. I'm still hungry. But yeah, so like when I was like 12, I think, I used to go to my neighbor's house, and she had this like, it was like a Maxwell house, like one of those coffee pot can things that used to carry the grounds in it, and she would just throw her empty cigarette butts in there, and I would take them and I would smoke them. It was fucking disgusting. And then when I was like, around the same age, I think maybe 13, a buddy of mine like found out a way to get some weed, and I wanted to try it, and it was like, that was my first experience with like any type of substance, alcohol, drugs, whatever it was. And I just remember feeling like, wow, this is it. Like as they say in the book, like, I've arrived. This is the best I've ever felt. I don't want to feel anything but this. But I'm 13 years old, so it's not like I can get it every day. Well, fast forward to like 15 years old, I had already been arrested once for possession. It wasn't a huge deal. I went through what they call the Crossroads program. And by then I was like, I don't know, I was probably smoking an ounce of marijuana a day. I was.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I was.
It's a lot of marijuana.
It was a lot of marijuana. And I was dealing drugs in my school. So it's like, you know, it was so, like, for instance, like I went back to my high school reunion recently, and it was like people were like, yeah, man, you had a real glow up. Everybody remembered me as the drug dealer Seth, which I think is so funny because, again, I weighed like maybe 130 pounds in high school, and I'm walking around dealing drugs. Like, what the fuck? Marijuana mostly. But anyways, so when I was 16, it was 2 weeks after my 16th birthday, I got arrested for the second time. And it was, and I shouldn't say arrested because I was never booked. I was detained, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I got busted for the second time, and they charged me with like drug abuse. It should have been intent to sell because I had a lot of different baggies. I had all that stuff. But I got really lucky, and for some reason that didn't happen, probably because I'm a white dude from the suburbs. But anyways, I don't know what it was, but I went through the Crossroads program. Again, same kind of thing. It was like a diversion program, I guess they call it. And then after I was doing that for a few weeks, I got busted a third time. And that really, really almost fucked me up. But because I wasn't in possession of any of it, there was nothing they could do except for call my probation officer and be like, hey, this is what's happening. And I don't know why, but after that, there was just something that like clicked. I was like, I can't be doing this anymore. And so I quit smoking weed. I did it one time again when I was 17. And that was the last time I ever did it. I was like, oh, that's it. I'm done. I don't need to do this anymore. But I told myself, I was like, I'll be fine if I drink or do other drugs as long as I never do this again. And so, you know, fast forward, I'm like 18 years old. I should clarify the reason that I was doing drugs and everything. And it was self-medicating. I found out in adulthood, excuse me, I found out that I have a severe obsessive compulsive disorder. So like minor, specifically intrusive thoughts, things that I can't control, you know, something that they say in AA is you're not in charge of your first thought. You're in charge of what you do with your second. And I think I'm butchering that, but roughly.
Oh, you fucking nailed it.
Thank you. Yeah. I didn't know that. I grew up in a Christian home, and it wasn't my dad's fault or anything, but I remember him saying something, or like maybe it was my pastor that said something like, yeah, like, you know, thinking about something is just as bad as doing it.
That's biblical though. You know, it's not just your pastor or your dad. It says it in there. You may as well, you know, pluck out your eyes if you look at your neighbor's wife with lust in your heart or something like that. I mean, it's all in there. It's like, you know, thinking is just as bad as doing it.
Yeah, and that really fucked me up.
Yeah, it'll traumatize you for sure hearing that, because you know, especially if you have intrusive thoughts like, okay, well, I'm not acting on this crazy crap that pops up into my head. I'm just I'm out of control with it, but I control my behavior. I seek absolution. I meditate. I'm trying, you know, and then you're like crucifying yourself essentially for something that's completely out of your control. It's not cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And so essentially, you know, fast forward again, and it's like I'm 18, and it got to a point where it was like I was suicidal. I wanted to kill myself, and so I started drinking, and you know, it did actually help. It, like, as like a lot of alcoholics say, like it worked until it didn't.
Right.
You know, so I started drinking. It was, again, I was 18, so it was a little bit harder to get it every day. And then I moved to New York City to kind of pull the geographic, because I was trying to get away from, you know, where I was from in Ohio.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, where are you from in Ohio?
Cleveland area.
Oh boy, yeah,
That's
rough.
Yeah, it's you know, we've got three main exports: corn, soy, and heroin.
Oh sure, yeah.
Where are they getting their heroin from?
Brother,
are there poppy fields in Ohio?
No, I don't know.
Okay,
where the fuck they're getting it from. You know, I don't know.
So it's an import that they're exporting. Got it.
Yeah. Fucking Bobo on the corner knows. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I moved to New York when I was like 19, and the depression just got worse. And, you know, now I had pulled a geographic, and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know how to socialize with people. I've never been good at that. So I would drink, and I started hanging out with people that were like in their late 20s and early 30s. So it was really easy for me. Like, you know, they knew the bartenders and the owners, and they would just fucking let me in. Like, I never had to have a fake ID or anything. And then, yeah, I guess I would convince myself for a long time. I was like, oh, it's totally fine. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not an addict because I'm not smoking weed. I'm not stealing my mom's pain pills from her broken arm, you know, or whatever.
I'm not drinking in the morning, so I'm not an alcoholic.
Well, that didn't take long before I was drinking in the morning.
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And that was like kind of one of the heads was, I was like, again, I was 21. It was like a few weeks before I turned 22. And my buddy, when I lived in New York, we had both of our rooms. They were next to each other. And then the kitchen was like right outside. and I'd opened the freezer to pull out the new Amsterdam or whatever gin from the night before, and I started doing shots of it. And when I closed the door, he saw me, and he just looked at me, and he was like, you know, bro, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty rock star, but you might have a problem. And I was like, nah, but keep with the rock star part.
It's rock star at the end of his career and close to the end of his life. But I don't know if you noticed in a lot of these rock star movies, they get sober.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like a running theme in the, in the movies.
Die.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I didn't have the money. So, you know, it's not like I was one of those cool rock stars. Like, that sounds like fun. No.
Yeah.
So he told you might have a problem?
Yeah. And he was saying it kind of jokingly, but it was where another seed had been planted. I mean, a bunch of my family members are sober. My dad, God bless him, he's been sober for 20-something years. And so he had always imprinted AA on me. Like, the joke I make is my first AA meeting was in 1999, because when he had custody of us, he had to go to AA meetings. So he would just take us, and we would hang out in the corner and sleep in the pile of coats while, you know, a bunch of drunks were chatting. And so, again, like, I'm super lucky to have that and have had that. And anyways, I'm rambling, but yeah, it was an ex-girlfriend who I found out that got married, and that for some reason it really just like tripped for me. I was like, I am just falling apart. I'm drinking every single day. And like, I never drank at work, which is what I told myself. I'm not an addict because I don't drink at work. I never get drunk at work, but I only worked 3 days a week, and my shifts were 5 hours at a restaurant from 2 to 9 or whatever, just so 7 hours, 8 hours, whatever. But I would immediately get drunk after, and then I could sober up by the time I needed to be there at 2:00 the next day. So it was like, yeah, okay, I'm not drinking at work, but like, I'm jonesing for a fucking glass of whiskey by the time it's 7:00.
You're like obsessing about it all day.
All day.
Yeah.
All fucking day. And so, yeah, I stumbled into this meeting. It was called the Mustard Seed in New York City. And a fun little story about that was, where I grew up in Ohio, there was a place called the Mustard Seed. It was a health food store, kind of like Whole Foods or, you know, Trader Joe's or whatever. So I'm looking, I'd never been to a meeting before, other than, again, when I was like 3 years old with my dad. So I'm like searching around the city. Like, they gave me I've got the address, and it's like the Mustard Seed. And I'm like asking people on the street, I'm like, excuse me, do you know where the Mustard Seed like grocery store is? Because I thought it was a fucking grocery store. Oh, sure, yeah. And I finally, like, if anybody's watching this that is getting sober in New York or something, you know the Mustard Seed. It's like a dark, dingy basement. And I don't know, I showed up late, obviously, because I was looking for a fucking grocery store. But I stumbled in, man, and it was like, I sat in the back, and this guy starts sharing, and he was like, you know, he was kind of like a rougher guy, and he's crying at certain points, and then at other points he's laughing about how he got robbed because he tried to buy crack in Harlem and then went back the next day, and it happened again. And it's like, I was like, I want that. I want to be able to laugh about this instead of literally wanting to kill myself every day. And I mean, fuck, man, that's the gift of sobriety right there. I haven't thought about killing myself since I got sober. Like, there's not even like glinting thoughts of it. It's like, there's no obsession about it. Like, I used to tell myself, I was like, when my OCD was super, super bad, which if anybody here has OCD, if you drink, it does help in the beginning, but it makes it substantially worse because you consistently need more of it. And alcohol really does affect mental illness in a different way, obviously.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So, you know, I'd kind of come to a point where it was like, I told myself, if I don't stop feeling these ways, if I don't stop having these thoughts by the time I'm 25, I'll kill myself, and that's okay. And that was the only thing that would get me through the day. I would like look forward to going to sleep at night, because when I woke up in the morning, I wouldn't remember all of these terrible thoughts that I had for like 30 seconds. So literally my entire life was based around those first 30 seconds in a day where I didn't want to kill myself.
That sucks nuts.
Yeah, it does suck.
That's awful.
And
you know,
not like good, like almonds or anything.
No.
You know what's wild, dude? Like, I've only known you as a sober person, obviously. We've known each other for 6 months ish.
Yeah, a little bit longer, but yeah.
Yeah, and all I know you as is sober guy, upstanding gentleman, super positive. You know, obviously I'm not around in in the wee hours of the morning or the night, but like, you know, like I just know you as like a healthy, upright individual, and it's such a pleasure to know that those days are behind you for let's hope,
Yeah.
if we're willing, they say a lot of times in the rooms, they'll say, oh, if God willing and the creek don't rise. And I heard someone go, no, not God willing, me willing. If I'm willing to do the work, if I'm willing to keep on coming in here and getting honest and doing the work of recovering, then I will stay sober if I'm willing to do the work.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit.
Go for it.
But that's just because conflict, I heard, is really good for podcasts. So I'm just going to create some.
Okay.
No, it's good.
No. Yeah, I wish that I could say if it was like my will to continue on. But like it's I mean, yes, if I go by my will, it's like, dude, I mean.
No. Don't confuse your will with being willing.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
No, of course we can't will ourselves into it. And if we could, we would have never ended up in the places we ended up going in our little secret fight clubs and basements and stuff. But if you're willing to do the work and surrender, if you're willing to do step one, which is, admit that you're powerless, then if you're willing to continue doing that work, yes, you will stay sober.
That's fair.
That's all I was trying to say.
No, that's fair. Yeah, nice save.
No, I think
nice
you guys should still fight.
No, I won that.
Yeah.
I won that.
Speaking of fights, I just realized we should probably get into
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, because we were before when we were doing our coffee smorgasbord and you were filling up the big gulp of coffee.
Yeah,
we were talking about
is that fucking coffee?
We talked about it episode 1. It's a thing.
I gotta stop. Actually, it's getting a little too much.
Yeah, it seems kind of crazy.
Yeah,
you might have a problem. We had a thing where we were talking about. We just came from Rolling Sober this morning. It was a great Rolling Sober.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, James. Wonderful. I was a couple minutes late. I apologize.
It's okay.
And then we had a great session. Like I said, there's some new people there, and it was fun. I love the stuff we're learning. Nick's throwing at us and stuff is great. I want to ask you, Seth, as someone you said 6 months in.
Yeah, 6 or 7 months in. Yeah.
What do you think is the number one thing that jiu-jitsu's brought to your sobriety and your life in general? And then what's the number one thing that you absolutely feel helpless about, like you need help with, that James and me can maybe give you some guidance in?
I would say that the number one thing that it's actually brought to me is a new sense of confidence.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like a guy that gets into a lot of fights. If I'm being honest, I've never been in like a real fight. But I grew up, scrapping around with buddies. We'd beat the shit out of each other just cause, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was the cool, tough thing.
Because we're boys.
We're fellas.
Because men will be men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, brother.
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 It's good. No, I like it. Keep Sam Ellie in it. It's great.
Yeah. So essentially, So
confidence.
Yeah. It's really brought me a new level of confidence where it's like, again, it's not like I was ever worried about getting into fights with people or anything like that. But there's just a sense of like, I can hold myself up higher, and I really appreciate that. That and just another add-on to the fellowship. You know what I mean? Just community. It's incredible.
It's nice.
Because it's not just our sober homies. Because now you're a member of Legacy too. You joined Legacy, you'll see if you stick around. Like the community of jiu-jitsu is awesome, which is great because as somebody, I don't know if you were like me, but I was a big isolator and I didn't want to be a part of anything. No clubs. No, I'm not going to be in your little club. I don't want to go to your gym and do your exercise class. And now I'm like, yes to all. Yes, sign me up. And so
it always ends up good.
Yeah, it's actually funny you say that because like my whole thing is like I was an isolator, but it wasn't because I was like, I don't want to be a part of your club. It was I don't feel like I deserve to be.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, on some level I think
I
that's
can relate to that.
Yeah.
And it's cool you notice, and it was nice today having new people in because it's like I got to be the person doing some of the service of it. There's also a service aspect that I like about it that's like everyone lifts each other up right away. Like as soon as you do your first class, you're better than someone who's once you do their second class, you can teach someone who's done their first class a little bit. Like the one thing you learn, like you can start turning around, and the way that the classes are set up, that was something I loved about it, is like you immediately turn around and start teaching people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. I was just we have jokes about that in jiu-jitsu about you're very close to getting your blue belt.
Yeah.
It's a little different, but we joke about white belts teaching each other stuff. We call it the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, it's great.
We're like watching them teach each other, and we're like, aren't they cute?
Yeah.
Look at them go.
That ain't it. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's actually a really great practice of humility because it's like my atypical brain is like I'm gonna teach these like my sponsor came today. It was his first time ever, and he was feeling kind of embarrassed. I think in the beginning, I could totally be reading that wrong, but he fucking was doing great.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
But I'm sitting here trying to teach him. Yeah. But I was like sitting here trying to like teach him a couple of things, and I literally looked at him. I was like, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. We should probably get one of the coaches.
Good move. Good move.
Yeah. And it was because like
Nice.
I don't like I'm sitting there like, oh, like in my head I'm like, oh, I should tell them that we should like teach these new guys what submissions are, because that's what got me hooked.
Right.
But also being like, no, dude, like just fucking, they know what they're doing. They're fine.
Yeah. I think that the new guy, there was a new guy named Alex. I think he'll be back. He really liked it. He's like, I'm traveling next week, but I'm going to be back the week after that. And we didn't learn any submissions today, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I snuck in and taught him a Kimura because I'm a 4-stripe white belt.
My man.
Yeah.
My man. I do think you want to learn one submission on your first day because it excites you.
I think
like,
it's cool.
Hell yeah.
Because I think he said, and Mike said this, I think that someone else said this, he was like, I'm just kind of defending because I was just letting everyone pass my guard, the newer folks. So I was like, this is a good place to start. And we were kind of working on some stuff like that, getting out of turtle, whatever. And I was like, yeah, just try to do this. Like, I can get on top of you. I don't know what to do after that. Mike, here's what you do. And I gave him a little Americana Kimura thing, and it felt good to do that. And then,
boy, that turtle was super,
I probably showed him the technique
helpful.
Like so wrong too. Like I probably gave him like the details were probably so fucked up.
No, probably not. It just maybe you're doing like a big canvas ideas, and then someone will get in there and help them do the details later.
Yeah, I hope so. Speaking of details, that's what you like about it, fellowship, all that. What's the thing that you feel is like your biggest mountain to climb in jiu-jitsu right now, technique-wise? And we're gonna get in the nitty-gritty right now, folks.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty. It's funny. It's like I've got a couple of things that I really would like to work on. Like for instance, like one of them was super helpful the other day was like escaping a mount, like bridging and then it's stuff like that like I.
Yeah, those are the things you need to be learning at the beginning for sure. It's survival techniques.
Yeah, that's and that's the thing.
And for those of you who don't know at home, mount is when you are on your back and the person is sitting on your chest with their knees on the sides of your chest. Yeah. It's an awful position for you to be in if you're on the bottom, and it's an excellent position for the person who's on top. They are winning big time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I always struggle with that. And then the biggest other thing I struggle with is making the first move. I don't know where to start. Like once the guy makes the move, it's like, okay, we're here, we're started. Maybe I can figure out where I'm at. And I mean, again, like I'm not very good, but I have had a few submissions, which have been great. I have gotten a couple people to tap or, whatever, but it's just like making that first move, being proactive, because again, I'm so much in the mode of like, okay, I just need to survive. Like, okay, so I'll let them do it first, as opposed to like, okay, let me be proactive. Let me be on the offense.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you're rolling with higher belts and you're new, they're going to let you make the first move a lot of times because they want to see what kind of style you're going to play.
Feeling you out.
Yeah.
But so if I could go back in time and do jiu-jitsu a little bit different, which I can't, so it doesn't matter, but if I could, I would develop plans, like one plan from either. There's two ways a jiu-jitsu fight is going to start. You're either going to be like aggressive or you're going to pull them into you, right?
Yeah.
So like you're either going to be playing from guard or you're going to be taking down and passing guard for the most part, I think. I think that's the best way to look at it, right? You've got two ways. So you have to have one solid plan for starters for each of those. Like, okay, if I'm going to pass their guard, here's how I'm going to pass their guard. And once I pass their guard, I'm going to get into either side control or mount. And here's my submission that I'm going to try to achieve. Right.
Yeah.
So you have a plan. So you need to drill every component of that plan a bunch of times. I need to pass your guard or take you down. So I'm going to practice that takedown. Then I need to get past your legs. So I'm going to practice that guard pass. And then I'm going to get position. And I want to think about how to maintain that position if the person's squirrely and how to improve my position and then achieve the submission I want. So if I have that plan, I need to drill every component of that plan until that plan is solid and that's a part of my game. And now I can work on the next plan, Yeah. That's how I would approach it.
Yeah, because then it stops feeling like a big giant. I know for me, when I first started, it felt like a giant, like, what the fuck am I doing moment. Every time we tapped, like I would slap hands and I'd be like, oh fuck, now what?
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, and so this is 100% how to fix that, is because it's like you have the slap hand moment and then you just go step by step so that it's like levels in a video game as opposed to like one giant open world thing where you're just like, oh, I just got to beat this one boss real quick. Your grips. Like, you grip me, I got to clear this grip. Yeah. Like, that's the number one thing. I got to pass over here. Like, today when we were rolling, I was like, oh, I'll pull. I was doing the come to me. I want to see, like, where how you're doing it. And I was like, I'm just going to maintain my guard. And then it was like, I could be really chill. I could, like, start thinking about other shit if I could just maintain my guard. You know what I mean?
For sure.
If I just gave myself a little mission, and it was way more easy to just focus on that, and I just felt more, you know.
Yeah.
I know that feeling you're feeling though.
This
sure.
is for the jiu-jitsu heads. This segment here.
Jiu-jitsu
If you don't know
heads.
jiu-jitsu, like what guard is when you are essentially you have your feet or hands in between you and your opponent, and they have not passed those frames that you could set up, right? So they would, if they're in side control or they're laying across you perpendicular, now you're in a bad spot. They've passed your guard. If they are mounting you and their legs are on the sides of your chest, then they passed your guard and you're in a bad spot. If you have your legs in or arms in between you and them in some capacity, you're pretty much playing guard, which is, you know, you can actually attack from your back in jiu-jitsu. It's really exciting. It's what makes it so fascinating, and what's kind of what makes jiu-jitsu so special, because you would think, especially as somebody who used to wrestle, that once you're on your back, you have lost. You're like, so I had to untrain myself and think about how to fight from my back, which is kind of what makes jiu-jitsu so powerful and special.
I love it. As a short king, it's like what brought me to this place, man. Like
go.
today, I was just on my back the whole time, and I'm like, I feel so in control here. It's so great. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It's, you know, because I grew up wrestling and stuff, and I hadn't done it in years, but I did boxing, and I did all that stuff, and you know, not even that I was good at boxing or good at fighting or anything, but yeah, it's just, I just love the uniqueness of it's like once you're on the ground, the match starts. Like I remember it was like, I don't know, the third or fourth class that I came to Rolling Sober, and James and we were standing up. We went. And this motherfucker immediately sits down, and I went, oh, shit.
This is going to be bad.
This is going to suck.
This is going to be bad.
And, yeah, he leg swept me and then went for an ankle pick, and I was like, I got to learn that. And like that's where I'm at, is like I'm really good at, like, yeah, the single leg sweep, right. I don't know if I'm getting the terminology right.
Single leg takedown?
Single leg takedown, yeah. But then I go in for the ankle pick was what I learned today. They're like, Nick was like, dude, you got to go for the ankle pick. And I was like, game changer.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's going to be such a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super excited to get to try that out on somebody.
Won't be me because I just sit down on my butt like James does.
Yeah.
I don't always sit down on my butt, but I will, like, a lot of times with new guys, I will, because I don't want like a spazzy like confrontation where we accidentally bump our heads into each other and
I'm not
someone
spazzy.
ends
I don't
up
know
with
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No, I'm just kidding. And then so, but I will also sit on my butt immediately if I'm like fighting a really good judo dude or a good wrestler. I'm like, nope, we're not fighting like that. You are getting pulled into my guard.
I've been really on a journey. James knows, and I had an injury lately in the last couple of months, and
you broke your foot.
I broke my foot doing this
straight
stuff.
up.
Straight up broken ankle.
Yeah.
And it's given me permission to be like, hey guy, I'm just gonna sit down for this one.
Yeah.
And that feeling of like, I'm just gonna sit. It feels like I'm 36, and there's moments now where I was like, I'm gonna take a seat.
Yeah.
If there's a seat there, I'm gonna take a seat.
Yep.
And the fact that like there's a whole school in jiu-jitsu of guard pullers, like the Mikey Musumeci types, who are like defenders of this like art of guard pulling, and a lot of people, you know, have disdain for it or whatever. But I'm like, it's a peaceful life, and I love it, and I'm never standing up again. Like I was like, there's no way my game is.
But it's honest work.
I'm just watching like Musumeci and like Levi Jones Leary videos of like all these guys who make it an art form, and I'm just like, they're great, and like they're still solid, and I'm never not gonna do that as an old dude. That's just my vibe now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a few years younger than you guys. I'm not old as shit, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, give it time.
You should still be working on your takedowns.
Yeah.
Young,
you still got time. Yeah, those knees can take
young
it.
steed.
No, but see, this is the thing: is my body's falling apart more than both of yours is.
So?
Oh, I know it is. Yeah, I broke my neck and my back a few years ago.
Yeah,
I've got metal in my arm. Broke
Shit.
my ribs.
Oh, nice.
These two fingers the tips are reconstructed.
Holy shit.
And it's so funny, like that's why this was such a beautiful thing, because I had been like kind of speaking it into the universe, and I wouldn't say praying about it necessarily, but I was like, I really want to start a martial art, like something. I was thinking kung fu, karate, something, and I told myself, I was like, it'll never be jujitsu because it's too much groundwork, and although the breaks are they're healed, I still have sciatica pain from time to time and stuff like that. And so I was always really afraid to do it. And then it was just like, and again, for anybody that's like worried about it, like we've even got a buddy of ours that he's got a pacemaker, and he's fucking doing great, man. Like even when he doesn't feel like it is, he's fucking doing great. Yep. And yeah, I'm with you on that. We're like, I've also got asthma. So sometimes I'm like, I just got to sit this round out. It's cool.
And it is cool. That's fine.
Yeah. The whole thing with jiu-jitsu, I think in the modern, like to bring it, we're going to get fucking nerdy. I wanted to get nerdy, James, with this episode.
All right.
Is the whole thing is like Hale Gracie had a bunch of health problems and was like a small dude and had all these like things to set him back. And because of that, he changed his game and made a whole new kind of style with it. And like, that's from my limited knowledge of it. It's like, that's the reason that made him special is like his limitations. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's great. Cause I have a bunch of those. Like, you know, like I said, I'm 36. Sciatica pain, by the way, that's forever. You're going to have that it's just mornings now.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Appreciate no worries. And, but like, just knowing that like, it's going to be okay with that. And also with jujitsu, it's like having awareness of your own limitations. It's also such a consensual thing. That's really cool as part of like the fellowship. Like, people will, if I roll with someone who's old, there's like dudes at Legacy who are in their 70s who are like,
we have a guy who started in his 60s and he's a black belt now. He's in his 70s.
And you can do it. Like, and it's, people will kind of gauge it. Of course, you're not going to be able to compete like at 80 cc or something.
He's not going to go fight Mikey Musumeci.
No, like there's certain limitations in that way of like, yes, of course, like if you're 70 and you're 120 pounds, there are some people that will beat you just based on size, of course. But anyone who's 120 pounds and 70, and you're like,
you're going to be competitive against them.
You're going to take care of business. Yeah. And that's a cool thing to remember. Like, you're just always like fighting against yourself, which is another thing that makes it great.
I mean, the cool thing is, too, is like, I have no interest in competing. Yeah. Like, that's not something that like, I mean, maybe one day I'll try it or something, but like, it's not something that like, that's not where I'm at. I just love the art form. Yeah. I want to know more about it. I need to sit at home because I'll be honest with you, like I have days where like when I go to jiu-jitsu, I'm so just gassed out. I'm like, that's it. I leave it. I leave it on the mat. I go home. I don't think about anything. Like I don't think about it anymore. Yeah. So for me, like what is Professor Brian? He's like, we're hobbyists. Yeah. And I loved that. I was like, I'm just a hobbyist, man. I don't care about competing. I just love doing this. And again, it gives me a confidence out in the day to day.
It's so funny. Professor Brian calling himself a hobbyist. He's like this, you know, he's like the Bob Ross of murder yoga.
Yeah, he's an animal. He's a freaking
animal,
like, I know
dude. We're going to take the arm over here and dislocate it, and you'd hyperextend it and catastrophic breakage here. And
it's a trilemma.
So you're
he's so good.
I love it when he starts talking about. He's like, so you're going to use your head and you're going to push it into the nose. It's going to go upwards, so they will move.
Yeah. He's very matter of fact of like the shitty parts of jiu-jitsu.
The bridge of his nose will never win a fight against the back of your head.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yep.
And God, I love him. I want to be like him when I grow up.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Very zen.
And we got to get him on here because we've talked about him so much already.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, listen. How do we want to wrap this up? Because we're coming up on our time here.
Yeah. You got a hard out.
I love how you just looked at the clock that doesn't exist there.
Yeah, we're actually looking.
I was actually looking at
the Hollywood sign,
the timestamp on the video.
We got we'll put a view on the Instagram.
You stupid.
The view at this place is it's not too shabby.
Yeah,
I like looking at the mats, but this doesn't.
No, it doesn't suck at all.
No.
And I love when Django comes up and gets a little cuddle going. You know?
Yeah, people are going to like the dog content we got this episode.
Come on.
For sure.
Come on.
I mean, we could just land. This is. Do you mind if I take I'll be a co-pilot and grab onto the reins?
Yeah, go ahead.
And go, Seth, you're Mensch, and this is so fun.
Yeah.
It is so good to see you. And man, you're someone who I can just tell is so serious about their sobriety in a way that is like very welcoming to other people. I could just feel the vibe, like just as we met. I met you today.
Yeah.
So we're like brand new friends, and I was like, oh, this guy seems cool. The way that you're leading the meeting and stuff, I'm like, oh, yeah,
he's cool as hell.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm all right.
And it's cool that we're part of the same fellowship. I like it. I'm excited for that, and thank you for coming on this podcast. And I'm so excited to roll with you more.
Yeah, man. Me too.
Great.
I'll just end by saying thank you so much to both of you for having me on here. That's pretty cool.
Thanks,
but also a big shout out to James. I don't want to get your ego too much. I feel like I compliment you too much, but also like I know you need it just like me.
Yeah. I'll take him down.
You're a special fucking guy, man.
He'll roast me. Don't worry about it. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
After I met you the first day, I like went home to my girlfriend and I was like, I think I've got like a friend crush on this guy. I got to make him my friend.
Yeah, I said the same thing about you.
And then you came back the next day and you were like, I was telling my wife Mava that like I met this guy. I want him to be my friend. And I was like,
it's rare that you meet someone and immediately feel like I really want to be friends with this person.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a cool dude.
So it goes both ways. You're a special guy too. We're all special.
Yeah, we're all good here.
In some level,
We
We're all
nailed it.
unique snowflakes.
We nailed it. Get ready for the next episode where me and James are going to be outrageously caffeinated.
Yeah.
Which
We're going to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
We're going to take it to the next level.
Yeah, no, I'm going to try again. I'm not going to give up on this guy.
No, don't give up on that.
No.
You can't.
I think maybe you guys should just shoot fucking meth at that rate. Like,
it's
dude,
getting
that's
there.
Whoa,
It's getting
dude.
there. Whoa, bro.
Whoa.
Don't shoot meth. Stay sober,
Excuse
guys.
me, rolling sober.
All right, y'all. See ya. Ciao.
I should be nicer to people.